Welcome to our Biz Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Cuthbert, Creative Director at Baker Creative. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please hit subscribe so you can get notified when new content comes out. Please share this with anyone who could be inspired by it. Welcome, Jordan Miller. It's so nice to have you on my podcast.
Well, thank you very much. It's nice to be here, Michelle. I'm Jordan Miller. I am the CEO and chairman of Adelphi Bank, a newly formed bank headquartered here in Columbus, Ohio, in the Brownsville district of the King Lincoln area, located on East Long Street. So we've been in business for about a year.
Well, I was really excited to have you on. And tell us about your current role. What do you do at the bank?
As I said, I'm the chairman and CEO. So in that capacity, my responsibility is we just launched the bank. So it's a new startup. And my job is to organize the team, set the agenda, set the strategic direction of the bank, and ultimately serve the community with banking services that we think are missing.
Can you elaborate on that? What do you think's missing today?
The products and services aren't the pieces that are missing. Maybe more the services are missing. It's the products are missing. So banks are traditional banks. We have certain products and services that pretty much every bank has. That's not the issue. It's the delivery of those products and services to consumers, especially to those that are underserved, those that are, for whatever reason, in situation they have in their life they're not bankable. Have been underserved, or maybe they don't understand banking, they've had poor experiences with banks. Maybe they've had credit issues or financial challenges. And as a bank, that's what our job is, to solve those problems for those business owners or for those individual consumers, to help them solve those problems. I mean, they have to be the ones to solve the problem. We are the ones that can give them the tools to help them.
So can you kind of tell us some of your background that led to your role?
I've been a banker pretty much since my college and military days. University of Maryland graduate, Air Force guy, and got into banking right after that. I was with the Comptroller of the Currency, which is the agency that examines national banks. So the Comptroller of the Currency is responsible for the examination of banks, on the national banks. It's a big job. There's obviously the bigger banks in the country are national banks for the most part. From there, I went to Huntington. I served at Huntington in their investment division, doing multiple kind of roles, and moved up. Left there, moved to Fifth Third, and ultimately became the president and CEO of the Central Ohio market for Fifth Third Bank, and retired. And then a good friend of mine and partner, Kevin Boyce, who is a county commissioner, had the idea to start the bank. A lot of issues around the George Floyd incident that raised national awareness. It just basically put Black people back in the spotlight. Why does this police officer have the audacity to have his knee on this guy's neck? For really no apparent reason. I mean, the guy probably was not one of our better citizens, but that doesn't give you a right to just go kill people. And we see that all the time. And until it's caught on video, nobody believes it. No, it's like, it didn't really happen. Or it's always, what was he doing that made the police officer do it? It was his fault. Why did he cause that? If he would have just cooperated. We hear that all the time because we don't see the video. Now we see the video, and people still don't believe it. But in this case, it caused a national out. I mean, it changed the DNA of companies and how they think about diversity and inclusion. And at that time, we said, hey, what's our part? What can we do? How do we capitalize on this moment? How do we help our community? So those were our thoughts. And the thought was, let's start a bank. And so that's what we did.
So how supportive was other banks or other leaders in the community when you opened this bank?
Awesome support from other banks, awesome support from community leaders, the Columbus Partnership, my former bank, Fifth Third, and of course locally here, the Huntington Bank headquartered right here in Columbus. Without them, we probably couldn't have got this off the ground. We made a pitch in front of the Columbus Partnership, which is most of the CEOs. I was a member of that when I was at my role at Fifth Third. So I knew a lot of the folks. A lot of them have changed, but many people in the room when we made that pitch, they believed in it. They know that it's a need. They know that there's a void. They know that Columbus can't be a great city unless all of the citizens have a way to participate. So we're trying to do our part to get that part of the citizenship up, help those businesses grow that have been underserved, that maybe, I always say they might be good at making pancakes. They just don't understand how much it costs and how to make money doing it. And how do you get people to work on the business? And what's the business requirements for owning a business? So a lot of people own businesses and are very, very successful and really smart people and creative and great ideas, but the businesses don't always work. And so that's where we think we can play a role. We think we can play a unique role, especially to help those Black business owners and low and moderate income owners. But we help everybody that walks through the door exactly the same way. Anybody that wants our help, they walk through the door. If you just want a checking account, just come and get a checking account. If you want to start a business and you want to talk to us about your business plan, come and talk to us about your business plan. So that's where we are.
What do you think is the biggest challenge starting the bank?
A lot of them. Coming up with the money, getting capital, putting together the business plan, getting the regulatory approval. All those are just, I guess, putting together a team of people, putting the positions, getting the org chart. It's a startup business, but it's a highly regulated startup business that requires regulatory approval. So we had to get approval from the state of Ohio. We had to get approval from the FDIC. They had to bless our business plan. They had to do background checks on all of our board members and all of our key employees. Raising the money was a big piece of that challenge, but we had a lot of great community support. It only took us about 6 months to raise the money, but we planted the seeds well before that. So before we could actually ask for the money, we had to have conditional approval. To get conditional approval means that your application has to be, it has to sound reasonable to the regulators. They have to believe that you can execute it. They have to believe that the team that you're putting together, okay, if we give you this conditional approval, then that means that you can go out and get the money. But they're looking, can you do this? Are we just going to have another problem bank in our system? So it's a pretty big lift when we attract some very good talent and very strong board members from around the community, well-known names, very strong bankers that wanted to be part of this, that believed in what we're trying to do. So that was all of those things of themselves were challenges. And you just wake up in the morning and whatever is you got to do for the day, it's always a challenge. There's nothing easy that's going to be good, right? So,
was there anything that surprised you in your role?
I was surprised when we got the approval. All of a sudden one day we're like, oh my God, we're running out of money. We're putting together this business and we had money to start hiring people to help us look for systems, hiring legal counsel to guide us, hiring consultants that could help us with the bank application, looking at retaining people and saying, okay, well, how am I going to get that person that's very, very successful in their role at that bank to come to my bank when I probably can't pay them as much as they're making, or I don't have all the benefits that they might have. Selling that idea, selling that concept, selling the concept that we're going to be something, that we're going to be a force in the community, we're going to change the lives of many people in our community. That's our goal, and we haven't done it yet. But that's we'll never ever one day wake up and say, oh, we did it and we can close the business. I mean, it's something that is going to be an ongoing challenge, but all of those things are huge challenges. And every day you wake up and you go, well, why did I do this? What am I in this for? And you have to just remember that the reason you're in it is so that you can make the changes that you know are needed. That reducing that wealth gap between African Americans and the majority community. I mean, since COVID, it's actually increased. So reading a report today that the average wealth of African, the difference between the average wealth of the average Black person and the average white person is about $240,000. In other studies I've seen, that we have approximately 9 or 10% of the wealth. Our families have 9 or 10% of the wealth of the average family. So I can't remember all the numbers, but I did a lot of that that research back when we decided that this is a big problem. It's not going to change unless we do something about it. So what can we do about it? Start a bank, help people.
I mean, if you don't take action, it doesn't change.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those kind of things where, and then you got to get people that are committed to making a change and just say, hey, why do you want to make a change? Well, it's not for the money. I mean, none of us are going to get rich doing this, but hopefully the bank will be successful. Our community will change over time, and we'll educate more people around financial issues. People will be more responsible about how they spend money, and our businesses will grow and thrive and hire more people, and that's the goal.
What do you think is the most fulfilling part of your job?
Well, I mean, the key thing for me is seeing people's lives get changed. I mean, just when you can help somebody, our philosophy is more. The answer may not be yes, but it's how. So we may not be able to do what you need us to do today, but how can we put you in a position so that a few months from now, a few weeks from now, that you're tracking so that we can help you? There's a lot of people that are just in very difficult financial straits. And when you are able to give them a plan that they have to execute to get better, and they do it, and it's fulfilling. It makes you feel good that somebody listens to you, that your advice, your counsel, and you're making a difference. And it's only one person, one business owner at a time. Really, when you look at it, there's not a solution that changes the world for everybody. It's individually tailored.
So wouldn't that be a unique selling proposition for the bank itself? Because if people feel like they're a number already walking in the door, and they feel like they can come into your bank and they can be heard and they can be seen, that's a whole different world.
I agree, and I think many banks have that as their core philosophy, and many banks execute it well. But every bank has a slightly different mission, and so a lot of bigger banks, I mean, kind of hard for them to get down to certain areas. I mean, they have to be profitable to be a bank. You have to make money. You have to be self-sustaining. If you start losing money, then the regulators aren't going to like that. You're putting at risk the FDIC insurance. You're putting the systemic risk in the industry. And so banks have different focuses. And, a lot of the larger banks can't get to the level in the community that a community bank like ours can do. And there are other great community banks that do it. And it's not to say that some of the bigger banks aren't really, really good banks. They have great programs. It's just, how do we get down to these companies that have historically been underserved and historically have had challenges accessing capital, and these individuals that have historically been ripped off? I mean, everywhere they go, they're preyed on. Payday lenders, go in the store, people follow you around like you're going to steal something or something. So people that have been underserved, and some, getting to try to help them, and trying to help those folks that don't have money, that don't have capital. That's hard. How do we make money doing that? So we know how payday lenders do it. They make a ton of money off of people that don't have money, but they do that by keeping that person in that situation. Our goal is not to keep you in that situation. If we can't help you change your situation and get out of it, then we're not executing our mission. Our goal is to wean you off of us. Yeah, we want to be here to be your ally, be a resource. You need a bank for credit needs or for depository needs or whatever you need it for. But the idea is the bank shouldn't be controlling your life. You should be controlling, the bank just exists there to help you live your life to the fullest extent that you can live it. So our role is minor in that part, and it's part of the education of financial issues and literacy and getting people to think more responsible. So.
And I think it's a mind shift. I mean, if you haven't ever grown up that way, if you don't talk about it in school, if it's not a priority, then it's not on your radar. I mean, it's an education, like you said. I mean, it just wouldn't be an awareness thing.
Yeah, no, that's right. And people say, well, where'd you learn this financial literacy stuff? Well, what do you think you should learn? Well, we should learn it from our parents. Well, what did your parents ever talk about? No. Well, when were they supposed to talk about? At the dinner table. Did you ever talk about it at the dinner table? No, Dad never shared anything about finances. I mean, yeah, that just was between him and Mom. And we see them arguing, but we never really talked about it. I was with my granddaughter yesterday, and she told me that she just took a personal finance class, and she's a student at a high school in Charleston, South Carolina. First personal finance class, and it was like, you know, it was. She told me all the stuff that she learned, and so I mean, I'm really proud of her that they're actually teaching that and have the options to teach that. And I never remember having any options like that when I was growing up, but maybe students today do.
Well, I mean, I think it kind of depends on the school, but I think it's really important. And, even today, my kids in kindergarten, and they were learning about money and almost ecstatic. And, we have tooth fairy money. Okay, so what are you going to do with the tooth fairy money? And then she had a meltdown because she was like, you can't buy anything for $1. And I'm like, you're right. But you could buy gum. There are other choices. You just have to see what the options are, right? But when you're little, that's when you really need to understand the money, even on a basic level. But yeah, so then what do you think is the biggest mistakes you see business owners make?
Let me just think that through. The biggest mistake I see business owners make, I mean, I see a lot of great business owners, first of all. So I feel, and every one of them has made some mistakes, just like our own business here. I can't keep a running tally of them, but I think a lot of it is underestimating who you're serving and being maniacally focused on who your target is and what you're trying to accomplish with that target. I think a lot of business owners are just saying, hey, we open the doors and people are going to come. There's no marketing, there's no reason for people to come, and educating their client, whoever they're trying to serve, on what they can do for them and how clear they can be and what they can't do. But I think a lot of business owners overestimate how much money they can make selling a product or service. It's in that area that I would say is challenging. They know how to make the pancakes. They know how to make it. They just don't know how much to charge for them and how much they cost to make them and to serve them. So part of the cost of making the pancake is, okay, I get the pancake mix, maybe I got water in it, maybe I have milk in it. So those are ingredients that I can put in it. But then the part that sometimes misses, I got to pay somebody to put this on the table of the client, of the customer. And then I got to have somebody that's going to cash out, and I've got to manage the money, and I've got to have services set up so that if they want to pay by debit card, I pay by cash. And then how do I handle that? How do I transport all of that stuff to the bank? Okay, I have to make a daily bank run. I don't want too much cash on premises because that might cause some bad behavior. I've got employees that I've got to train on how to handle that cash and reconcile it. So it's not about the pancakes anymore. Business owners are really good. They know their product, they know their service, and it's the stuff that goes around the business. The cash flow cycle, the revenue cycle, the expenses. Those are, to me, where I see a lot of business owners not understanding that, not ever taking any time out to get to know their business better, to look at their margins, to see how they can improve. They get so busy making pancakes that they forget about the profitability and the cash flow. And before you know it, they're not making any more pancakes because even though the pancakes were good, they are out of business because of cash flow cycle, or they underestimated something. Somebody came in the store and they slipped and they fell and they didn't have the right kind of insurance and it wiped them out.
Yeah. So,
Working in the business, I guess, is succinctly what I would say is the mistake.
so how can people be more literate in financials aspect?
I think a lot of it is very common sense. Number one, if you want to build wealth and you want to have things that disposable income, the first thing you have to understand is how much money do I spend? And so once I know how much money I spend and how much money do I make to cover that, does it cover that? And I think a lot of people find out that they really carefully monitor their expenses, that they're subsidizing their expense with that credit card. That credit card is covering those expenses, and that credit card is not being paid off regularly. So now that the $2,000 or $3,000 that we spend on that credit card in this month, we don't pay that off every month. Then those expenses for that time, we didn't, it pretty much means we couldn't afford them because we really didn't have the cash, and we had to borrow from the credit card to to pay for those expenses. Many times those expenses are needed, but if you eat more than calories than you burn, you're gonna get fat. You're gonna gain weight. I mean, it's not. It's a simple math. If you spend more money than you bring in, you're gonna be broke. I mean, you're gonna lose money. At some point in time, that cash flow cycle is going to catch up with the way you can keep it going for a while, borrowing in the future. That's what payday lenders do, right? That's the payday game. It's the whole idea is, hey, you could spend money now and then on payday, you pay me back. So you're spending in advance of it. But every month you're in the hole because you're never, ever, ever accumulating anything above what you're spending. And that part of that disposable income is never saved. But I think financial literacy is really that simple. There's a lot of concepts. There's a lot of there's a lot of individual things in there. Businesses are a lot more complicated than that, but it comes out to the same simple thing.
What surprised you the most in your career?
I've had a good career in banking, and if you would have looked at this 21-year-old kid back many years ago, I don't know that I had dreams, I had goals, I had ambition, but I didn't have a blueprint, I didn't have a map, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And the fact that, wow, I got this job, I work for the comptroller of the currency, regulating national banks, and all of a sudden going into all of these banks, and I'm finding issues or finding challenges, and I'm recommending solutions to the management team. Well, that's pretty good. And then I moved to a bank and I started executing my own department. And before you know it, I got bigger departments and I've got other people under me. And now I'm mentoring people, I'm sponsoring people, I'm talking to people that are leaders that I thought, wow, I never thought I could be in a room with a person like some of the folks that I was in the room with. And I moved to Cincinnati to move with Fifth Third. It was at their headquarters. And again, same thing. Got there, start to bottom, work your way up. Wow, they want to make me the president of Columbus, Ohio. Wow, they want me to move back to my hometown to run that market for a very significant operation of Fifth Third. I mean, that surprised me. I'm like, oh, me? Really? Do they know who they're dealing with here? Do they really know who I am? I mean, after all, I've worked for them for 10 years and they're still asking me to go do this. It's so, a lot of that is flattery. I've had, touched a lot of lives, I think, both on our customers and both with our employees. And then I've learned from a lot of great people. And I've learned from a lot of people that work for me too. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I'm surprised that I could be in the room in the first place and to rise and to move up and then to retire and start our own bank. I'm like, what in the heck are you doing, dude? Whoever thought you'd start a bank? Those are big surprises. And obviously, I don't take all the credit for that. The help of a lot of people. Starting this bank was a huge lift. And I got some great business partners and some great board members and a great team of people that are just, but almost everything I've done, that's what it always takes. It takes a team, dedicated and talented people to get something done, to make a change.
That answer was perfect. That was the perfect answer. Because you would want someone running a bank who's more about the people and about what's happening than getting the title and all that. That's why you're promoted. That's why you're where you are at. I think it's wonderful. You know what I mean? Because that's who I'd want to have, right? I don't want someone who's all about what's the big profit for the day. I want someone who cares about what happens at the bank and the people they work with and the people that come in.
And I can say that's true for our team. That's true for our board. I mean, the mission that we set out to help our community build wealth, with all the vision behind it, it's a heavy lift. It's not easy to make money in banking. There's a lot of choices in banking, and most banks pretty much say the same thing that we say. That we want to help customers where they are. We want to help improve their lives. We want to do all these great things. But then the reality is, how do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
And we're a small bank, so each of our employees that we hire is uniquely committed to doing it. Doesn't make them the best person at it. There are other great bankers across the city and across the state, and I mean all around, that can do the same thing. But you have to hire people. In our case, in order to execute the mission that we want, it's the commitment of the team member that we have. They have to do it, because there's no way I can serve every customer. There's no way that my commercial loan officer can serve every customer. All of our employees are doing the role, and then we're trying to create that environment that makes them want to do it even more. Patting them on the back when we see them doing something good, when they face challenges with customers, and boy, this is a really tough situation. We see tough situations. We see very difficult financial situations. What can we do for this person? And you have to really pull out creative juices, because banks are so highly regulated that it's hard to deviate from some of the norms. There's a credit score. Oh, and this person's credit score is below kind of these established norms. Then it's hard to make credit. When you do make credit decisions to those customers, well, the regulators are, what were you thinking? Why'd you give somebody this money and they got a 500 credit score? How are they going to pay you back? I mean, because they're very critical, because if you fail and they got to pay FDIC insurance to your depositors, that's not a good look. So their regulatory process is very tight, and they scrutinize every single thing we do. So we have to be above board, and we have to find creative ways to help people that are in that situation.
What's the next steps for the bank?
We're under what we call a 3-year de novo period. So, which means basically that in the first 3 years that a bank is formed, a new bank, de novo, is kind of a 3-year period that you have to go through to get to profitability. During that 3-year period, your business plan is scrutinized even more. So we came up with this business plan to get approved, and now what's the environment? When we sat in a room and dreamed it up and worked with consultants to put a bunch of numbers on paper, then that was one thing. Now the reality is here. Interest rates have changed. We've had a couple bank failures last year. The market has changed. A lot of inflation is a little bit higher than when we had the business plan set. So now what are we going to do? So first thing we got to do is get to profitability. We had our business plan called for us to be profitable within the first 3 years. And, we're tracking that very closely. Once we're at a point that we can get to profitability and not have regulators in every 6 months, looking over our shoulder, scrutinizing every single thing that we do, then that's when we can kind of flip the switch to really serving the customer and really start going at the community in the way that we want to. Right now, the sole focus is you got to be profitable. Let's do stuff that's profitable. A lot of things that we want to do aren't profitable, So financial literacy, applying financial literacy to kids that go to East High School or something like that. It's a dream of ours. We'd like to help those students, and we do a lot of that kind of thing. But it's not profitable. We don't make money doing that. We've got a transportation program that we came up with, and this program is designed to help folks that are in the situation where they need a car, they need transportation, but they go to the car dealer and I mean, they get charged crazy interest rates. One, they can't, nobody gets a good deal at a car. I mean, you know, I don't care who you are. You can, people say they do, but
Right.
I've yet to ever get a good deal at a car dealer myself. I'm not going to get charged 22% interest rate either.
Right.
So we've got examples of that. People come in and they've got a car, they overpaid for it. Then they find out that they need insurance, and we find out that the insurance is not based on your driving record, it's based on your credit score. So if you've got a 500 credit score, and you know you're way below what the norms would be, then guess what your insurance is going to be? So you're not only paying more for the car, you're paying the maintenance contracts that they sell you, you're getting the credit life, you're getting every single thing that you think you have to get because you need that car. And you get ripped off and you don't realize it until some point in time when that thing breaks down, well before it's paid off. So that's another area where we see that we want to help those folks. We started the program. It's difficult to help because when people come in, they already got the car, they already paid somebody, they've already paid for it, they've already got this huge interest rate. We look at the car and say, wow. I'll say you paid $20,000 for this car, and I'm looking online right now, and I'm seeing one that's got less mileage on it, that's in better shape than the one you have. It's only $10,000. So how can I refinance that collateral? So those are challenges that we're trying to help solve. You know, and it takes a lot of creativity, it takes a lot of thought, but over time, helping people own their home, helping people pay reasonable interest rates for their car, and be productive members of society. Those are our things that we want to, that's really why we exist. That's what we want to help people do.
We're helping people with the American dream.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we all have it.
True. So when it's all said and done, what do you want your legacy to be?
You know, we talk about legacy, and you know, I've already had my legacy. It's already scripted. It's already written. You know, and all I can do now is to build on it more. I mean, so I would love to. I would love to say that I was influential. That I helped someone. That gave somebody a chance that they would not have gotten from somebody else, or I gave them a piece of information that, you know, and I told them in a way that they could use it. You know, information, tips, and all that stuff are great, but you know, I look at that like my golf game. I'm a tinker, right? I want to change. I want to get better. Well, so I look at what tip can help me get better. Well, you know, there's a lot of tips that can help you get better. Some of them don't apply to you. How do you customize a tip that improves someone's financial life? How do you customize something that's tailored solution to that individual customer? You know, that's to me is the legacy. It's changing lives of people that would not have done it without our help. You know, look at our community, and I'd say, okay, in 5 years, what's our community? What would our community look like if we didn't exist? You know, and maybe the community would be 10 times better if we didn't exist. Maybe we're screwing people's lives up. I don't know, but obviously that's not what we want. The outcome is we want to see improvements in things that would not have happened if we weren't here. And that's my life.
I agree. It's like ripples in the water, right? And one little thing kind of leads to a bigger thing.
Yeah.
It just kind of goes through a whole community. And I think that's important because, you know, you guys saw a need and you went for it. And I commend you for that. I think that's important. It takes courage to do that.
Yeah, it takes courage, and you have to flunk retirement too sometimes. That it is really, I think it's more about the people that you're around to help you do it. You know, there's no way. When I look back on my life and I look at what I think will be my legacy, you know, I had help along every single step of the way, from the time that I was in college, from the time that I was in the Air Force, and every single job I had, I learned something from somebody. And sometimes in in ways that I didn't really want to learn, or found out things about myself that I didn't really want to know. But I had to change them. I had to learn them, and I had to listen. And that's the hard part about changing, is actually listening and committing to it. So my golf swing, whenever you try to change it, it feels funny. And if you have an instructor say, no, you need to do this. Well, if you want to get better, then you have to get through that uncomfortable part, that growing pain, and we face that in every single thing we do, getting through that growing pain, and in order to make the change. And then once the change becomes ingrained, it doesn't feel funny anymore. It's just part of who you are. And you keep picking up things like that. But every time you grow, every time you advance, every time you try something new, you get that tense, uncomfortable feeling of growing pain, of feeling of, am I over my head? And am I going to be able to execute this? Is this going to work? I mean, all those issues crop up. We're human. But as you check the box and click each one of them off, I mean, and that's getting comfortable with that is really, I mean, it's critical. It's important, and but it's the only way you learn and grow is some pain and challenge in growing. And if you don't have any pain, then you probably won't have much gain. And pain doesn't have to be bad, but it has to be uncomfortable to make you do something different.
Agreed. Thank you so much for being on our podcast. I think a lot of people are going to learn a lot.
If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please hit subscribe so you can get notified when new content comes out. Please share this with anyone who could be inspired by it, and feel free to post any questions so we can be inspired by new content. Thanks for listening. If you're interested in learning more, visit our website at bakercreative.co.